And that's how I met your mother. Sorry about that, it'll make sense in a couple videos from now. Rate your music if you're unfamiliar as the letterboxd of the music world. That didn't help, it's an online forum that geeks alike catalog their music listening experiences with completely arbitrary rankings. Last week I took a glance at their top 50 albums of all time and had several pressing issues with it, so today I took a glance at their top 100 songs of all time in an attempt to first collect more data before I, YouTuber with 30,000 subscribers, declare them all as dumb. I'm going to rank them on this tier list here as we go. You'll pick it up quick. You're one smart cookie, dear viewer. Without further ado, let's hop into the 100th best track of all time. Number 100, it's Cream by Wu-Tang Clan, opening up the video with one of the most iconic hip-hop tracks ever written off of one of the most iconic hip-hop records ever recorded. Absolutely fantastic production, but a lot of my love for this song, even the album, comes from the intensity of everything here. It's also raw and visceral, both lyrically and from an execution standpoint. Elite vocal chemistry from the fellas. This belongs on the list for sure. Get it on the board. Number 99, it's Chop Suey by System of a Down, an all-time metal classic right here that your uncle most certainly knows. Incredible production, phenomenal structure, and truthfully one of the most simultaneously jam-packed and kind of accessible metal tracks I've ever heard. Fantastically peak stuff. I'm gonna go top of the board. Number 98, it's Beware by Death Grips. Death Grips' core track for certain. If you like those guys, you'll like this one. If you don't, you won't. So that's probably pretty obvious. Pretty tricky track to dive into, to be honest. Production is masterful, but it's certainly a tough listen. Energy here is pretty unparalleled, though. I really like the sampled intro, and the instrumental work here is fantastic. Up there with their best work, for sure. My least favorite so far, though. Back of the board. Number 97, it's Ocean Man by Ween. Hello, it's me, the Ween guy, telling you Ween dropped a banger. All-time classic track most people my age know from the legendary cinematic masterpiece SpongeBob SquarePants. A song with unparalleled vibes, I'd say. Very light and nothing to really overthink here. Provides a good time and does a damn good job at doing it. Always a smile on my face when Ocean Man is on the aux. I'm gonna go behind Chop Suey. But damn, this is goat shit. Number 96, it's Move On Up by Curtis Mayfield. Another all-time classic track I certainly wouldn't have been able to name prior to this video. Incredible in all facets, to be honest, produced masterfully for its 1970s release date, and once again, the vibes are unmatchable here. Vocals are seriously on point as well, and lyrically I think this brings a bit more to the table than I had remembered. Certainly belongs on the list, top of the board. Number 95, it's 1979 by Smashing Pumpkins. Perfect track here from the Smashing Pumpkins. Surprisingly, their only inclusion on the list. I don't know if I'd call this their best track, but it's certainly got a case for it. Absolutely iconic guitar work, some very pretty production in line with the rest of the project. And really the moment Melancholy cements itself as one of the sickest double albums of all time. Goat shit once again from Mr. William Corgan. Top of the board. Number 94, it's Feel Good Inc. by Gorillaz. We had a real great run going there, didn't we? I'm not going to call the song bad. Relax, sit down. That would be foolish, and I would be wrong. Am I going to call this a top 100 song of all time, though? Quite frankly, no. And I think this is the first entry on the list that made me kind of rub my eyes a little bit. Certainly an iconic track. It's a fun listen. I've just never been particularly the Gorillaz guy, I guess. Definitely one of their better tracks, though. Back of the board. Number 93, it's Summer's Gone by Honey Dip. Loveless fans, close your little underdeveloped ears for just a moment. This is better than their entire catalog. This is a shoegaze classic right here. Perhaps just my favorite song in the genre, or at least one of them. Incredible guitar work that's not completely overbearing. And some very soft and floaty production and vocals to pair with it. It's shoegaze at its core, its purest, and some of its most enjoyable. I'll go behind Chop Suey on the board. Number 92, it's Where Is My Mind by the Pixies. It's the Fight Club song. It's a banger for sure. I don't know about top 100 ever, to be honest. Pretty iconic track for sure. Guitar work is where a lot of that iconicism comes from, and I'd agree it's the Pixies' best track by a decent amount. There's a lot of songs out there, man. Many of which, in fact, most of which aren't on the list of the top 100. Wouldn't make my personal list, for sure. I'm gonna go back of the board. Number 91, it's One by Metallica. All-time classic metal track right here. Super iconic intro. Metallica still at their creative peak before they completely ran out of ideas for stuff. The only thing really holding this back is the production. It's produced as though I myself did it. Just really sloppily done, especially for a band as successful as Metallica was at the time. Track is sick, though. Really interesting lyrically, and exactly what you want to hear from these Metallica guys for sure. Go behind Wu-Tang on the board. At number 90, it's Cherry Colored Funk by Cocteau Twins. A little bit of peak dream pop on the list here. One of my favorite album openers ever, to be honest. Not my favorite track on the record. That one doesn't actually show up in the top 100, which makes me severely upset. But this track is beautiful in a very similar way. Masterful production that just makes me feel like that strange picture of SpongeBob SquarePants where he's floating with the headphones. You know the one. Peak song. Behind Chop Suey on the board here. Number 89, it's Constru Cow by Chico Barake. Something like that. Sorry, man. Pretty sick track, to be honest. I hadn't heard this one before making this video. First song that's the case so far, actually. But this sounds like a masterpiece to me. Really well produced and mixed, and quite frankly, just beautiful stuff. A lot going on here sonically. There's just so much to appreciate here. Really immersive track as well, and simultaneously complex, but also accessible. A lot of fun to listen to. I'm gonna go behind Metallica on the board. Number 88, it's Sir Duke by Stevie Wonder. The King of Vibes returns with his soul entry on the list, which breaks my little delicate heart into a million pieces. This is one of his best songs for sure, though. Incredible stuff all around. Lyrically beautiful, instrumentally a goddamn great time, and Stevie delivering yet another all-time vocal performance on this record. Can that motherfucker miss? Yeah, but we don't talk about it. Behind Mr. Curtis Mayfield on the board. Number 87, it's Extol by Aphex Twin. Pretty sick stuff right here. Almost certainly not a genre I often find myself diving into. Quite frankly, it's not my bread and butter. But it's hard to not appreciate a track like this. Masterfully done, really immersive and atmospheric track while still maintaining some complexities. Some shit to chew on, I guess. Definitely one of the best ambient tracks I've ever heard, albeit my bag is pretty teeny tiny in that regard. I'm gonna go behind Ex-Military on the board. Number 86, it's Alright by Kendrick Lamar. First Kendrick appearance on the list, and if you recall we're talking about Rate Your Music, he'll appear somewhere around 85 more times. This is peak shit though. One of the more poppy tracks on TPAB, I'd say. A track I could imagine hearing on the radio, heavily censored of course, but simultaneously essential to the plot and kind of story of TPAB. Really great song lyrically, but also produced masterfully. Kendrick in his goddamn bag. You can't go wrong with this track. I'll go above Cocteau Twins on the board here. Number 85, it's Valentine Card / Cantina / Were, Are, and Was or Is by Unwound. This one's fairly confusing because it's actually 3 songs, but it's listed as one. I don't know, man. I don't make the rules. Very slint-coded if you're familiar with their work, but the shit's pretty damn fantastic. Guitar work is absolutely unreal here. Drums are pretty damn incredible, but the vocal delivery is probably my favorite part of these tracks, especially in conjunction with the guitar work. It's also heavy and kind of visceral. This is peak stuff, but it's certainly no Ocean Man by Ween off of The Mollusk. Number 84, it's Carry the Zero by Built to Spill. Feels pretty high to a fella like myself. Banger track most certainly, but doesn't feel all that revolutionary in the indie rock scene to me. Guitar work here is pretty excellent though, masterfully produced. Might be a top 200 song of all time, that might be true. But I don't know, that would be a long list. I'll go behind Aphex Twin on the board here. Number 83, it's The Glowing Man by Swans. Fairly incredible post-rock track right here from Swans. Swans I would equate to the Death Grips of rock, perhaps on an even larger scale. Very broad songs, this one coming in at just about half a goddamn hour, but it's a masterpiece in spite of it. Not much time wasted on this track either. Incredible build-up, masterful instrumental work throughout the entire 30-minute runtime, and some genuinely inexplicable lyricism that I'm either too dumb to understand, or it just makes no fucking sense. Could go either way to be frank, but the song's great. Behind 1979 on the board. Number 82, it's Wood by Alice in Chains. Finally a little peek on our dinner table. If you're familiar with my game, you know how much I love this Lane Staley fella. And this is certainly up there with his best studio performances ever. Track's also got incredible guitar work. It's short and sweet at less than 4 minutes. But by God, it feels even shorter than that. Just so jam-packed and fast-paced. Truly one of the sickest songs I've ever heard. Rest in peace, my goat. Top of the board. Number 81, it's Since I Left You by the Avalanches. Pretty indescribable track, to be honest. Its genres are described as sample delia and plunder phonics. I don't know what the fuck either of those words mean, but it's pretty sick. Give me some Nujabes vibes, for sure. Very floaty and immersive production. Not too crazy about the vocals, to be honest, but the production here, which is certainly the meat and potatoes, is pretty goddamn good. I'm gonna go above Ex-Military on the board. Number 80, it's Eleanor Rigby by the Beatles. All-time classic track from the Beatles right here. Maybe you've heard of them before. I hear a lot of chatter from the young Christians of this generation that the Beatles are overrated, and tracks like this kind of refute that fairly hard. It's just a fucking banger, man. Really pretty stuff, iconic chorus, incredible mixing and production. This is what it's all about right here. Gonna go behind Wu-Tang on the board. Number 79, it's Gimme Shelter by Rolling Stones. Polar Bear in Arlington, Texas situation right here. I don't get this at all, I don't think. Certainly a good song, I won't argue that, but top 100 and over every song we've talked about so far. No Way Jose, back of the board. Number 78, it's Glory Box by Portishead. We're back. All-time trip-hop classic right here. Either the peak of the genre or damn close to it. The first song I heard from these guys where I, once again, looked eerily similar to that one gif of Danny DeVito. Hopefully you still know the one. Incredible ambience and production here. Just creates such an immersive and eerie track. Beth Gibbons with a goddamn unreal vocal performance. So fucking peak, man. Behind Wood on the board. Number 77, it's Good Morning Captain by Slint. Really fucking good song right here. I've heard some cats not enjoy this one, but I love this song to death. One of my favorite album closers of all time with ease. Such a creepy and eerie conclusion. The vocals and the guitar work, especially with the concluding verse, is just absolutely perfect for an album like this. One of the most haunting album closers I've ever heard, for sure. Peak shade once again. Behind Wood once again. Generals gathered in their masses. Number 76, it's War Pigs by Black Sabbath. The birth of metal encapsulated in a song is this track right here. Of course, Paranoid as an album is the birth of metal. This is really the track I personally think of. Incredible guitar work, unrivaled creativity from really every motherfucker in the band, and Ozzy Osbourne just out there fucking around and delivering some fairly thought-provoking lyricism. I mean, if it wasn't for this, my goats would not exist. I'm gonna go above Wu-Tang on the board. Number 75, it's The Place Where He Inserted the Blade by Black Country New Road. It's another sensational track, and quite frankly, a pretty unreal listen top to bottom. Such a heart-wrenching and personal track, amplified by the vocals perfectly. Isaac Wood's performance on this entire record is incredibly far from standard, but in such an authentic and human way that it makes tracks like this hit all the harder. Unreal instrumentation as well, such a grand and beautiful moment in music right here. Who Said Rock Was Dead? Behind 1979 on the board. Number 74, it's Blind by Michael Gira. Quite honestly, one of the greatest songs I've ever heard. Swan's typically an artist just creating these very grand and vast landscapes in their music, offering an acoustic ballad. Just Michael Gira giving it to you straight. Some of the most profound lyricism I've ever heard in music, coupled with some very pretty guitar work. Just an unreal listen that I kind of struggle to put into words. Top of the board from me. Number 73, it's Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. Maybe you've heard this little indie track. Widely considered one of the greatest songs ever made, especially by the millennials, but those bastards have a pretty good point here. Incredibly beautiful and iconic track, hard to really argue. I don't have anything too fresh to say, you probably know this one. Behind Blind on the board. Number 72, it's Roundabout by Yes. Little prog rock masterpiece right here, some absolutely ridiculous music, to be honest. Genuinely unlike anything else I've ever heard. Not quite the peak of their catalog, but damn close to it. Another track with so much to chew on, but it's never overwhelming. Some of the synth work here as well, especially considering its time, is pretty damn incredible. Just a very surreal listen top to bottom. Absolutely belongs here. Behind Chop Suey on the board. Number 71, it's Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears. One of those songs that somehow manages to be very catchy and also kind of sad at the same time. The production has aged unbelievably well for its time, with every synth and guitar line coming together pretty perfectly here. Beneath all the pop slop, there's this subtle tension kind of running throughout the whole song that makes it just very memorable. An absolute classic for good reason. Behind Ants From Up There on the board.
If I told you I killed that nigga at 16, would you believe me? Or see me to be innocent Kendrick?
Number 70, it's Mad City by Kendrick Lamar. One of the more explosive rap songs I've ever heard, and somehow just kind of never loses its impact no matter how many times I listen to it. Kendrick's storytelling is phenomenal here, switching between very kind of frantic verses and catchier hooks while painting such a vivid picture of his upbringing. The beat switch is, I would say, legendary, and the sheer energy of this entire track is kind of just ridiculous. Easily one of the defining songs of modern hip-hop. Going behind War Pigs on the board. Number 69, it's Duck Koo Kim by Sun Kill Moon. One of Mark Kozelek's I did my best, most emotionally devastating songs, slowly building toward an ending that, for once, actually does knock my socks off my feet. The lyricism is very detailed here, and it's almost conversational. It kind of feels like you're sitting across from hearing these thoughts in person, in an uncomfortably parasocial way. Just a very gorgeous piece of music. I'm gonna go above All Right on the board. Number 68, it's Sinner Man by Nina Simone. An absolutely mesmerizing performance from Miss Simone here. The piano work is incredible, the vocals are maybe even better, and the entire song feels like it's constantly building without ever kind of running out of steam. It's a very hypnotic track, spiritual even, and a little intense all at once. It's pretty sick stuff. I hadn't heard this one before. Going above 1 on the board. Number 67, it's Transdermal Celebration by Ween. Probably my favorite song these Ween fellas ever wrote, and one that perfectly balances their weirdness with a touch of sincerity. The melodies are beautiful, the guitar work is ludicrous, and Gene Ween gives one of his strongest vocal performances in the studio. One of those songs that feels kind of uplifting while still carrying a bittersweet undertone. I absolutely love this one. They don't make shit like this no more. Top of the board for my goat. Number 66, it's Dogs by Pink Floyd. One of Pink Floyd's greatest songs, packed with some of David Gilmour's sickest guitar work. The flow of this track is seamless, the atmosphere is incredible, Roger Waters' lyric writing is pretty goddamn on point here as well. By being over 15 minutes, it never once overstays its welcome. Just an unbelievably immersive listen. I'm gonna go behind Transdermal Celebration on the board. Number 65, it's Storm by Godspeed You Black Emperor. One of the most beautiful instrumental pieces I've ever heard for sure, constantly kind of shifting between hopefulness and genuine misery. Godspeed are masters of kind of patient songwriting, I'd say, and this track showcases that better than almost everything else they've ever released. Every moment feels completely earned here, making the emotional payoff at the end just fucking crush you. Just an unreal experience. Behind Stairway to Heaven on the board. Number 64, it's Bloodhail by Have a Nice Life. One of the defining songs of the entire shoegaze and post-punk scene for me. The production somehow sounds massive while still feeling incredibly intimate, and the vocals here just kind of add to that sense of intimacy. Every section builds so naturally into the next, creating this overwhelming wave of misery like the entire album does. Really fantastic song. I'm gonna go behind 1979 on the board. Number 63, it's Close to the Edge by Yes. Progressive rock at one of its highest peaks, and somehow one of the most rewarding songs to revisit over and over again. The musicianship across the board is genuinely absurd, but what impresses me most, I think, is how cohesive it all feels, despite how ambitious this track is. Every moment has its own identity while building into this kind of massive journey. It's another masterpiece. I'm gonna go above 1979 on the board. Number 62, it's Carry Me Ohio by Sun Kill Moon. One of the warmest, while also saddest songs I've ever heard, with Mark Kozelek, once again delivering such vivid and personal songwriting. The melody is gorgeous, the guitar work is low-key, but beautiful, and everything about the track just feels nostalgic almost, in a really interesting way. It lingers with you long after it's over. Just incredible songwriting here. I'm gonna go above Avalanches on the board. Number 61, it's Long Season by Fishmans. You know me, you know my obsession with this song. It's a song that it completely earns every single minute of its runtime, constantly kind of evolving throughout without ever really feeling repetitive. Fishmans creates such a dreamlike atmosphere that I almost kind of lose track of time while listening to this song. Every new section feels like another emotional chapter rather than just another idea. An unbelievably immersive experience from top to finish. I'm going behind Transdermal Celebration on the board. It'll all make sense in due time, dear viewer. In the court of the crimson. Number 60, it's The Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson. One of the songs that practically defined progressive rock at its earliest dates. The song just sounds very massive, the melodies are unforgettable, the entire thing feels larger than life. Even 60 years later, there's something just magical about the atmosphere this track creates. Not my favorite track off the record, but probably maybe my second. A timeless classic, above 1979 on the board. Number 59, it's What's Going On by Marvin Gaye. Just about one of the smoothest songs ever recorded, while simultaneously delivering such an important message. Marvin Gaye's voice is borderline flawless here, floating over one of the most beautiful instrumentals of the 70s. Every part feels effortless, despite how kind of broad the song really feels and is. An all-time great performance, going behind Storm on the board. Number 58, it's Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan. One of the most influential songs ever written. It's honestly not really difficult to hear why. I'm often a Dylan denier, but this track is fairly incredible. The writing is excellent throughout. His vocal performance carries just the right amount of bitterness, I'd say. The organ lines are iconic, I think it's an organ, and the entire track just feels very replayable. A landmark in songwriting, perhaps. I don't know, that sounded smart, though. Behind Duck Koo Kim on the board. Number 57, it's I Want Wind to Blow by the Microphones. One of Phil Elverum's most emotionally raw songs, balancing these kind of beautiful melodies with an overwhelming sense of dread. The production feels intentionally rough around the edges here, which only kind of makes the lyricism hit harder. It's a very intimate and human listen from beginning to end. More beautiful stuff. Going above 1 on the board.
I never sleep, 'cause sleep is the cousin of death. I lay puzzle as I backtrack the early.
Number 56, it's New York State of Mind by Nas. Quite possibly the greatest rap performance ever put on record. That's probably not true, but its influence is undeniable. Every bar is delivered with unbelievable kind of precision, while painting one of the most vivid pictures of New York City kind of ever heard in rap. Production is flawless, just allowing Nas to dominate this track. Absolute perfection in the hip-hop world. Gonna go behind Wood on the board.
We can take it all back, the red is stuck, and start all over from the careless duck.
Number 55, it's Lovesick Part 3 by Nujabes. One of the most comforting hip-hop songs I've ever heard. Blends this kind of gorgeous lo-fi production with incredibly heartfelt lyricism. The track just feels very warm, nostalgic, and kind of uplifting without ever being overly sentimental. Nujabes is just one of the greatest producers of all time. Creates this unbelievable atmosphere through his production. And Shingo 2's lyricism on this track is some of the best I've heard from that fella. Just a beautiful collaboration from these two bastards every time they meet. Going above Dogs on the board.
I drove up to the city.
Number 54, it's The Moon by the Microphones. Another absolutely gorgeous piece of songwriting from Mr. Phil Elverum, capturing this overwhelming sense of loneliness once again. Guy loves to do that, huh? And reflection, that he does better than a lot of other lyricists. The production is rough once again, but it only adds to the authenticity of the entire record, and this song especially. Every lyric feels deeply personal without ever becoming kind of overly dramatic. It's an incredibly moving song, I think. I'm gonna go right behind The Other Elephant, I think. Number 53, it's Yoga by Bjork. One of the most breathtaking vocal performances I've ever heard, paired with the production that somehow sounds almost alien in a way. Bjork has always had an incredible ability to turn overwhelming emotion into something very beautiful and poetic. This might be one of the better examples of that. The strings here are absolutely stunning, building towards one of the most powerful climaxes in her discography, at least that I've heard. An unbelievable song. I'll go behind Duck Koo Kim on the board. Number 52, it's Jigsaw Falling Into Place by Radiohead. Radiohead had some of their most energetic while still maintaining all of the tension and dread people love them for. Thom Yorke's vocal performance is excellent. The guitars gradually build into this kind of chaotic conclusion, and the whole thing feels like it's constantly on the verge of falling apart. A fantastic song, beginning to end, above Dogs on the board. Number 51, it's Pagan Poetry by Bjork. One of the most intimate and vulnerable songs Bjork has ever written, as far as my knowledge goes, and you can feel that sincerity in every second of this song. The vocals are absolutely ridiculous, while the production constantly shifts between this beauty and this intensity. Such a unique combination that only this crazy son of a bitch could really get done. I'm gonna go behind Eleanor Rigby on the board. Number 50, it's No Surprises by Radiohead. One of the saddest songs I've ever heard, despite sounding kind of peaceful on the surface. Everything about the arrangement feels almost deceptively comforting, while Thom Yorke delivers one of his most heartbreaking vocal performances in the studio. I think the simplicity of the song is exactly what makes it so effective. An absolutely timeless track, going behind Dogs on the board. Number 49, it's Good Vibrations by the Beach Boys. Still one of the most ambitious pop songs ever recorded, and somehow it still kind of lives up to that reputation. Every section introduces another melody, and Brian Wilson's production and vocals remain decades ahead of their time. There's so much shit going on here, but it never feels cluttered for even a moment, really. Just pure musical genius. I'm gonna go above Eleanor Rigby on the board. Number 48, it's Be Quiet and Drive Far Away by Deftones. Probably my favorite Deftones song, and one of the best examples of why the performative male can't avoid these bastards. The guitar work is ludicrous, Chino Moreno delivers an incredible vocal performance, and the atmosphere is unmatched. It feels aggressive and dreamy at the same time, the perfect Deftones song, I'd say. Peak shit, going behind Lovesick. Number 47, it's Earth Mover by Have a Nice Life. One of the most overwhelming songs I've ever experienced. Kind of slowly builds into this absolutely crushing wall of sound, like a lot of this album seems to do. The payoff is incredible because of just how patient the band is throughout the first several minutes. Everything culminates in one of the most emotionally devastating last 6 minutes I've ever heard of a song. An unbelievable closing track. I'm gonna go behind, Be Quiet and Drive on the board. Number 46, it's While My Guitar Gently Weeps by the Beatles. George Harrison absolutely cooks here, delivering one of the strongest songs in these Beatles fellas catalog. The Eric Clapton feature is phenomenal, but it's really the songwriting that steals the show here. Every lyric feels sincere, and the melody is unforgettable, I'd say. A beautiful track from start to finish, behind Good Vibrations on the board. Number 45, it's Hydrocodone by Black Cray. A perfect example of why Black Cray has become such an influential figure over the past decade. The production feels hazy and dreamlike, while his delivery somehow sounds both detached and incredibly emotional. Such a unique atmosphere to this music, and that very few other artists have managed to replicate, or something like that. Honestly, I think this kind of sucks. Google said he was influential, and hazy sounded like a cool word to use right there. I'm gonna go back to the board. Number 44, it's On GP by Death Grips. It's probably the most vulnerable Death Grips track in their catalog. The live instrumentation gives the song a completely different feel from a lot of their other stuff, while MC Ride delivers one of the most personal performances of his career. It's chaotic, it's heartbreaking, but it's also strangely beautiful. Easily one of their greatest songs, if not their best. Going behind Wood on the board. Number 43, it's Katie Song by Red House Painters. One of the most emotionally crushing slowcore songs ever written. This Mark Kozelek son of a bitch delivers an unbelievably genuine track here, and every lyric connects with so much weight I feel like anyone who's fought Conor McGregor in the last 8 years. The instrumental remains beautifully restrained throughout. It's just very peak, very well constructed. I'm gonna go above Blood Hail on the board.
I'm the biggest hypocrite in 2015. When I finish this, if you listen, then sure you will agree.
Number 42, it's The Blacker the Berry by Kendrick Lamar. One of Kendrick's most powerful performances both lyrically and vocally. Every verse is packed with incredible lyricism, while the instrumental keeps the intensity at an almost unbearable level. The ending completely reframes everything you've heard on the entire album, making an already phenomenal song even goddamn better in the full context of the record. Absolutely incredible. I'm gonna go behind On GP. Number 41, it's Comfortably Numb by Pink Floyd. These sons of bitches did it again. David Gilmour somehow delivers one of the greatest vocal performances of his career and one of the greatest guitar solos ever recorded on the exact same song. The contrast between Roger Waters' verses and Mr. Gilmour's choruses is genuinely perfect. Everything about this track just feels larger than life once again. Another masterpiece. I'm going to go behind Blind on the board. Number 40, it's Hacker by Death Grips. One of the more accessible songs Death Grips have ever released, despite sounding completely insane on paper. But every line is memorable here, every beat change lands perfectly, and the energy never drops for even a second. It's somehow chaotic, but also fairly catchy at the same time. It's an absolute banger. Going above Good Vibrations on the board. Number 39, it's Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush. Stranger Things song. That's all. Now, honestly, Kate Bush creates something here that feels a little mysterious, a little emotional, and quite frankly, it's a lot of fun. Her vocal performance is incredible, while the production remains just as captivating today as it was decades ago. The timeless track, I'd say, a classic. I'm going to go behind One on the board. Number 38, it's Long Season Live by Fishmans. What's to say? It takes one of the greatest songs ever made and makes that shit even better. The live performance feels even more expansive and emotional than the studio version, with every section flowing perfectly into the next just like the studio version. The band sounds nigh perfect throughout the entire 40-minute runtime, not to mention Shinji's fate following the show. Truly one of the most powerful and, quite frankly, meaningful live performances ever done. I'm going to go top of the board for the greatest song of all time. Number 37, it's God Only Knows by the Beach Boys. This is one of the more beautiful love songs ever written, especially for its time, I'd say. Brian Wilson's songwriting is excellent, the harmonies are unbelievable, and every little production detail contributes something meaningful to this song. It's impossible not to smile listening to this track, unless you're having a bad day, of course. Then it's impossible not to frown. Behind Carry Me Ohio on the board.
I took my shirt off.
Number 36, it's The Glow Part 2 by The Microphones. Last track from The Elephant here, one of Phil Elverum's defining songs, I'd say, and comfortably my favorite off the project. Kind of balances this raw emotion and incredibly creative production choices. The dynamics through the song are fantastic, constantly shifting between this kind of quiet reflection and explosive instrumentation, just like every other song off the record has. Such an incredible track, and probably the peak of the record, like I said. I'm going to go behind Roundabout on the board. Number 35, it's Purple Rain by Prince. An absolutely legendary performance from Prince. Maybe you've heard of him, who somehow excels as a songwriter, vocalist, and guitarist all at once. The song gradually builds towards one of, if not the greatest guitar solo ever recorded, but even the build-up is absolutely iconic and legendary. Every second feels earned, another monumental piece of music, above Lovesick on the board. Number 34, it's Shook Ones Part 2 by Mobb Deep. One of the hardest rap songs ever created, largely thanks to that iconic instrumental. Remember when Eminem beat the Sun Guy in that rap battle? Good times. Anyway, Prodigy delivers some of the coldest verses in hip-hop history, and everything about the track sounds just incredible. Its influence on hip-hop almost undersells the quality of this track. Absolute classic. I'm gonna go behind Stairway to Heaven on the board.
Rap snitches, telling on their business, sit in the court and be their own star witness. Do you see them?
Number 33, it's Rap Snitch Niches, something like that, by MF Doom. I never knew how to say it. MF Doom at his wackiest and most creative on this track. His rhyme schemes are genuinely baffling, as always, but it's really his personality that carries a lot of this track. Every line is quotable, it's memorable, and the beat is one of the most iconic in modern hip-hop. One of the most replayable songs in his catalog. I'm gonna go behind Wu-Tang on the board.
Just remember all caps when you spell the man name.
Number 32, it's All Caps by Mad Villain. Back-to-back Doom tracks, this one is another one of the greatest showcases of Doom's lyricism you'll ever hear. Madlib's production as well is kind of fast-paced, but also incredibly unique, giving Doom the perfect canvas to deliver some unforgettable bars. Everything feels effortless again, despite how technically impressive it all is. It's phenomenal shit. Going above The Glowing Man on the board. Number 31, it's All Along the Watchtower by the Jimi Hendrix Experience. One of the rare covers that completely surpasses the original for me, and I think most people living in reality and not Candyland. Jimi Hendrix transforms Bob Dylan's songwriting into this explosive psychedelic rock masterpiece, delivering one of his greatest guitar performances in the process. Every solo feels completely inspired, just unbelievable musicianship. Going above Good Morning Captain on the board. Number 30, it's The Sound by Swans. One of the most immersive musical experiences I've ever heard, to be honest. Swans have this incredible ability to slowly build tension over impossibly long runtimes without ever really becoming stale. By the time the climax arrives, it feels almost transcendent. It's a breathtaking track, going above Good Vibrations on the board.
They're all supposed to try.
Number 29, it's Farewell Transmission by Songs Oh Yeah. This is peak shit right here. The vocals carry so much emotion without ever feeling forced, while the band gradually builds around him beautifully. The guitar work is so incredibly peak. Such an uplifting and heartbreaking song all at the same time. It's one of my favorites, honestly. Going behind Dogs on the board. Number 28, it's Time by Pink Floyd. Probably the greatest song ever written about getting older. Roger Waters' lyrics hit harder every day as I kinda get older, while David Gilmour absolutely steals the show with another incredible vocal and guitar performance. The entire song feels perfectly paced from beginning to end, and the lyricism just is almost unreally good. Damn near flawless track. Going behind Studio Long Season on the board. Number 27, it's Enjoy the Silence by Depeche Mode. Some iconic shit right here. One of the greatest synth pop songs ever made, balancing these fantastic melodies with surprisingly emotional lyricism. The production is immaculate, and Dave Gahan, I did my best, gives a pretty fantastic vocal performance as well. Everything about it feels timeless. It's an all-time classic track. I'm gonna go above 1 on the board.
What you want, you a house, you a car, 40 acres and a mule, a piano, a guitar, anything. Say my name is...
Number 26, it's Wesley's Theory by Kendrick Lamar. An unbelievable album opener that immediately showcases everything that kind of makes To Pimp a Butterfly so glazed on the internet. The production is unreal, Kendrick sounds incredible throughout, and the songwriting is also almost unreal. Just an amazing track, one of the greatest hip-hop tracks of all time, for sure. I'm going to go behind Shook Ones on the board. Number 25, it's Heaven or Las Vegas by Cocteau Twins. Quite possibly the most beautiful dream pop song ever recorded. That's not true. My Glorious King Long Season exists, but it belongs in that conversation. Elizabeth Fraser's vocals are absolutely otherworldly, and while I have no clue what she's saying most of the time, the emotion comes through perfectly anyway. The guitars dominate from beginning to end, creating one of the dreamiest atmospheres I've ever heard in song. An unbelievably gorgeous track, going behind Comfortably Numb on the board. Number 24, it's Wouldn't It Be Nice by the Beach Boys. One of the greatest pop songs ever written for sure, packed with incredible melodies from the very first second. Brian Wilson's production is unbelievably intricate without ever distracting from the heart of the song itself. On the surface, it puts a wide smile on my face, but underneath it carries this kind of bittersweet longing. Just pure songwriting perfection, going above the glowing man on the board. Number 23, it's Marquee Moon by Television. A masterclass in guitar playing, with the fellas constantly bouncing off one another throughout the entire 10 minutes. Every solo feels purposeful, every melody kind of stuck with me, and the song somehow never loses momentum despite its length. One of those tracks that completely transports you somewhere else. Really immersive shit. Peak post-punk stuff. I'm going behind 1979 on the board. Number 22, Ain't It Funny by Danny Brown. One of the most chaotic songs I've ever heard, and yet it feels weirdly controlled at the same time. Danny Brown's performance is almost manic, perfectly matching the frantic production underneath him. Beneath all that insanity is some incredibly heavy songwriting about addiction and self-destruction. Honestly, I'm not a massive fan of Danny Brown's vocals, but I understand the love for this song for sure. I'm gonna go behind Gorillaz on my own personal board here, don't be upset. Number 21, it's When the Sun Hits by Slowdive. One of the most euphoric shoegaze songs ever created. The guitars completely wash over you while the vocals come together beautifully here. It feels nostalgic, dreamy, and oddly emotional all at once. Every time that chorus comes in, it gives me the heebie-jeebies. I actually wrote heebie-jeebies in the script, above Slint on the board. Number 20 is How to Disappear Completely by Radiohead. Probably the most emotionally devastating song Radiohead ever wrote, which is saying a lot. These guys love to ruin my day. Thom Yorke's vocal performance is unbelievably vulnerable, while Johnny Greenwood's string arrangement quietly builds into something absolutely breathtaking. It captures the feeling of wanting to disappear and anxiety in a terrifyingly vivid way. A genuine masterpiece, going behind Time on the board. Number 19, it's Helpless Child by Swans. One of the greatest slow burns in music history, to be honest. Michael Gira takes his time building this song piece by piece until it eventually explodes into one of the most overwhelming music experiences I've ever heard. Every minute feels completely necessary, though, making the payoff at the end just that much more rewarding and baffling. Ridiculously peak stuff. I'm gonna go behind Farewell Transmission on the board.
We're just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl.
Number 18 is Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. One of the simpler songs in Pink Floyd's catalog, yet somehow one of their most emotionally powerful as well. David Gilmour's acoustic guitar and vocal performance, once again, absolutely iconic, while Roger Waters' lyricism is once again perfectly captures the feelings that he's trying to transgress here. Feelings of absence and regret. It's one of those songs that only seems to get more meaningful as I begin my encroachment on the big 30. Timeless track. I'm gonna go above Purple Rain on the board. Number 17 is Starman by David Bowie. It's kind of pure magic from beginning to end right here. Bowie had an unbelievable gift for writing melodies, and this might just be his greatest one. His charisma carries this song, while the arrangement constantly gets like a little more grand, without ever feeling like too much. It's another track that physically turns my frown upside down. Fantastic vibes. I'm gonna go behind New York State of Mind on the board. Number 16, it's Weird Fishes by Radiohead. Another absolutely flawless Radiohead song, I'm afraid. Every guitar line interlocks perfectly, creating this constant building once again, while Thom Yorke delivers another one of his most beautiful vocal performances. The climax is subtle, but also incredibly rewarding, and the final section once again gives me the heebie-jeebies. A phenomenal piece of music. I'm going to go behind Wish You Were Here on the board. Number 15 is Billie Jean by Michael Jackson. Quite simply one of the greatest pop songs ever recorded. The bass line is immediately recognizable, Michael's vocals are absolutely iconic, and the groove never lets up for a single goddamn second. Every little production detail feels perfectly placed. Pop music just doesn't get much better than this. You know this song, let's move on. I'm gonna go behind What's Going On on the board. Number 14 is Echoes by Pink Floyd. One of the most ambitious songs the Floyd ever attempted. They nailed the fuck out of it. The band effortlessly moves through so many different moods and soundscopes over 23 goddamn minutes without ever really feeling disjointed. The whale sounds are weird, but every member gets a chance to shine here, creating one of the most immersive listening experiences in their whole catalog. An unbelievable achievement in music, especially for its time. I'm gonna go above What's Going On the board. Number 13, When You Sleep by My Bloody Valentine. Now I know what you're thinking, dear viewer. He's gonna blast this poor innocent song into oblivion, and I'm afraid you'd be incorrect, dear viewer. I think the song's actually pretty good. My Bloody Valentine I find best consumed in about 4-minute increments. My disdain for the album is that every song sounds the exact fucking same, not really that every song is bad. In a bite-sized portion like this, I'm having a fairly decent time. This is good stuff. Not excellent stuff, but good stuff. Find Aphex Twin on the board. Number 12 is Life on Mars by David Bowie. One of the greatest vocal performances Bowie ever gave, paired with one of the most unforgettable melodies he ever wrote. The piano arrangement is absolutely beautiful, constantly building alongside the emotion of the song. It feels very theatrical while remaining deeply personal to Bowie himself. A masterpiece in every sense. Going behind Dogs on the board. Number 11, Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst by Kendrick Lamar. For my cheddar, the greatest song in hip-hop history. Kendrick manages to weave together multiple perspectives so naturally while exploring such complex themes like grief, violence, and redemption in a way that never really feels forced. Every verse serves a purpose, and the emotional payoff is incredible. Such a hopeful yet tragic song. Flawless song. I'm gonna go behind How to Disappear on the board. Number 10 is Once in a Lifetime by Talking Heads. One of the most unique songs to ever become a mainstream hit. David Byrne's performance is genuinely baffling, kind of balancing absurdity with surprisingly interesting lyricism. The song is a damn fun listen from beginning to end, vibes are incomparable, and every instrumental layer adds something to this monstrosity. Just a very replayable track. You can't go wrong here. Going above Starman on the board. Number 9 is Sleep by Godspeed You Black Emperor. One of the most emotionally overwhelming instrumental pieces I've ever heard, once again. The opening monologue immediately sets the tone for this track, and from there the band slowly constructs one of the most rewarding listens in music history. Every section feels carefully placed and planned, making the ending hit like one of those cartoon mallets Jerry was hitting Tom with. Just a transcendent listening experience from top to bottom. Above Studio Long Season on the board. Once again, my Ween bias prevails. Number 8 is Paranoid Android by Radiohead. Everything that makes Radiohead great condensed into one incredible 6-minute-long song. The structure is constantly shifting, yet it somehow feels completely natural the entire way through. Tom York is phenomenal once again, Johnny Greenwood phenomenal once again, and the final section remains one of my favorite moments in music entirely. Just incredible, iconic, going above Sleep on the board. Number 7 is There Is a Light That Never Goes Out by The Smiths. One of my preferred love songs, to be honest. Despite how strange the lyricism is here, it's very unique in that way. Morrissey's lyrics are incredibly romantic in their own kind of inexplicable way, while Johnny Marr delivers one of the greatest guitar performances of his career. The melody is unforgettable, the emotion behind it feels very genuine. It's kind of before Morrissey became the worst person I know. Damn good stuff. I'm gonna go behind Starman on the board. At number 6, it's 21st Century Schizoid Man by King Crimson. Still one of the most explosive opening statements any band has ever made. Imagine opening up your debut record with this fucking song. The musicianship is absolutely absurd across the board, effortlessly jumping between these heavier riffs and these impossibly technical, almost jazz pieces. Even decades later, it still sounds incredibly ahead of its time. A landmark achievement in progressive rock. Can't imagine where we'd be without it. Going above Yoga on the board. Number 5 is Shine On You Crazy Diamond Parts 1 through 5 by Pink Floyd. An unbelievably beautiful song and a fantastic tribute to Syd Barrett that once again captures everything Pink Floyd did best. David Gilmour's guitar work is breathtaking, Richard Wright's keyboards completely fill the atmosphere here, and the entire song unfolds with this incredible patience. Every note feels meaningful and iconic and legendary. One of the greatest songs ever written. Going above Sleep on the board. Number 4 is Strawberry Fields Forever by the Beatles. The internet's favorite Beatles song outside of the very top spot, I'll spoil it for you, and one of the most creative recordings ever made. Every production choice somehow makes this song feel dreamier and even more surreal, while John's songwriting remains deeply personal throughout. A song that paved the way for the music as we know it today. Gotta give it its flowers. Going above Storm on the board. At number 3, it's Heroes by David Bowie. One of the most inspiring songs ever written, largely because of just how sincere and human it feels. Bowie's vocal performance grows more powerful with every passing verse until it reaches one of the sickest climaxes in music history. The instrumental steadily builds alongside him, making the payoff just feel almost angelic. A near-perfect song, going above Jigsaw on the board. At number 2, it's Starless by King Crimson. One of the greatest songs ever composed, period. The first half is absolutely beautiful. One of Greg Lake, actually John Wetton's finest vocal performances. I don't know who that is. I don't know when that happened. But before the second half slowly builds up the tension into one of the most ludicrous climaxes I've ever heard. The final few minutes are genuinely ridiculous. I don't think music gets much better than this. Going above Time on the board. And at the number 1 spot, it's A Day in the Life by the Beatles. The internet believes this is the greatest song ever written. Are they right? I don't think so, man, but stay with me for a second. Every single element feels very essential here, from John's haunting verses to Paul's perfectly placed middle section, all tied together by those legendary orchestral works. It somehow manages to feel very intimate and surreal and monumental all at the same time, ending on one of the most iconic final moments in music history. I've heard this song countless times now, but it's still a genuinely unreal listen. I just kind of prefer some of these other top dogs. Great song, though. I'm going to go behind Purple Rain on the board. That's all I have written here. Thank you very much for watching, dear viewers. Subscribe if you enjoyed. Maybe follow me on Twitch if you fuck with a fella like myself. And I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.